And what I have is I have like an Ayurveda background, and this book club is about Body Thrive by Cate Stillman, and I've been through her program, and I'm allowed to teach it. So I teach it for free through the book club, and then starting probably this fall, I'll be teaching the classes because it's like a 1-year journey to integrate the habits, and it just takes some time. She herself has tried to do it on a shorter basis, and it just isn't successful. It's a results-based kind of experience. So it takes time to especially if you have a lot going on that up to that point, there's a lot of things to change. So it's always takes a little time. And the nice thing is it's always, these things are done at your own pace. Wherever you have an interest in working on, you can work on those things. You don't have to work on everything. Today, we're just kind of kicking it off, and then I'm going to cover habit 1 and habit 2 from the book. You just do practice with like habit 1 for the first week, and then habit 2 for the second week. And that way you can just kind of see what works for you. One of the main reasons why this is so important is, for myself, what I realized, it was kind of like a core foundation for healing. The more I did these habits, the more I healed from injuries, from just every mental things, physical things, all those things started to reduce tremendously. So it's like a foundation that you kind of come back to whenever you have things that come up. It helps you go through things like through ease. So that's kind of the goal of it, having that kind of abundance in your health and your relationships and your career, and finding the ease going through life without so much chaos, especially for people some of us I used to have a lot of chaos, so that's why I say that, but it's not everybody's like that. But it's just a solid way to find that base ground. And then from there, you could start more towards healing. It makes it easier. It opens you up more to the awareness of your body, of what your body needs and wants, and noticing when something is wrong and kind of focusing in on that area to kind of resolve it. So I tie a little bit of the energy medicine in because that's another area that I'm going to be developing in. So in order for like a full healing, you have this base, and then you work towards that self-empowerment of healing, just by someone guiding you with the experience, or when you're working with someone else, the information that you get may help you work with somebody else too. Like if you're in person with somebody that does energy medicine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to probably read a little bit from the book, just to kind of cover that first habit.
I was just wondering, like you said, like listening to your own body.
Yes.
Like how to distinguish between like, well, this is something that I should take care of versus something this is like, oh, this is just fatigue, or just is like not to worry too much, like how to distinguish between.
Part of it is whenever you kind of sit quiet, it's almost like a little bit of a meditation. So whenever you notice that there's, say, like you have a pain or something in the stomach. So if you sat down and you just kind of relax and you focus and you just kind of relax into it and let your mind and your body focus in on that particular area, and you could close your eyes and just pay attention to that. And literally you can ask questions of your own body. What's wrong? Why am I feeling this? Because sometimes it's not necessarily a health problem. Sometimes it's related to, like something you're stressing over, or something that there could be different reasons for it occurring. So it's just training yourself to listen a little bit more inward, because how a lot of times we look outward for answers. We look to the doctors, we look to the other people, books. When I was doing my research, I was researching all kinds of different healing modalities, all kinds of spiritual books, everything, just, so it's that outward search. In reality, what it is it's inside. So there's a lot more that you're going to gain by tuning more inward. And sometimes it's just that sitting quiet to hear it. And I'll see if I can do, there's an exercise, if I record it myself and put it in our group, it'll help to kind of guide you through that. Because, when we get to one of the habits is sitting in silence or meditation. So we could do like a little bit of a guided meditation. It'll kind of teach you that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
It's just the awareness. It's developing, because a lot of times, when we're so much more outward, we're not as aware of ourselves anymore, or we've suppressed certain things, and it just kind of makes it not as clear. So we just kind of, it's making it a little bit more clarity. It's how to have a body according to Ayurveda. This is all based on Ayurveda wisdom. Cate Stillman had training with Dr. Ladd when she was in her early 20s in India. And over the years, she developed this set of habits as being the ideal. There's other yogis or other people that may only have like 5 of them or a certain number of them. This is what she found that works for that overall effect, that overall wellness. Yeah, I think I'll just read a little bit from that first part. Body Thrive is not about magical elixirs or expensive superfoods. The force that will sculpt and shape your body and how you age is daily habit. Maybe habit doesn't sound enticing. Maybe dread quietly appears when you hear the word habit. I've seen enough people get their mojo back after years of struggling, and I know one thing for sure: the habits you choose over time create your day-to-day thrive. Your habits also determine your future day in and day out experience, for better or worse. And that's the other nice thing, is this is not based on like supplements or, it's not like going completely like you don't have to be vegan. You don't have to be, even if you can't do all foods organic, you do just like the amount that you can do. So it's all these different habits that you slowly start adding in, that that just expanding on what you're doing. If you see the book, it just talks a little about the different causes of disease, like making careless choices, disrespecting your senses, and the body senses is where the habits come in, because it's that self-care. So you're starting to care for the whole body. A lot of times when you're not well, you're doing a lot of things for everybody else and not taking care of yourself. So that's just an extreme example. That's not necessarily everybody, And another cause is accelerating aging by living out of rhythm with the cosmic clock. And what that means is just like in the universe, everything is energy, everything is elements. We're the same. We're part of the universe, part of the elements. We have all that within our bodies, and that's a big concept of the Ayurveda. And the Ayurveda, are you familiar with Ayurveda, or are you new to that?
I'm familiar with Ayurveda. I'm born in India, so
great.
I know the name and some of the medicines. Personally, I haven't really practiced that much because, I don't know, college life, job gets in the way. But I'm definitely seeking, those energy realizations and what works for me, and how I can be like calm from within, because I'm seeking those things. So that's very helpful.
Oh, good deal. Yeah. And I used to be a very high stress, high anxiety person. And that is another thing that this has brought me completely down. I night and day difference. Mm-hmm. It'll make a big difference. My daughter goes to college right now and she gets very stressed. So I'm trying to guide her a little bit, but it's whenever you're open to receiving these kind of things, then it comes. But when you're not quite there yet, you just kind of take in the information a little bit. The first time I heard Ayurveda, I had no idea what it was. It took me 2 years before I came back around and actually explored it and then studied it and started applying it more. But I love when it comes to healing and everything, I love the concepts from the oldest ancient wisdoms, the things that were already established more, just like the Ayurveda, the sister of it is yoga, Vastu Shastra. Hopefully I said that correctly, with the, applying the elements to your life, your house, your home, your desk, everything. Whenever you're working on this, you think about the reasons why, what in my body, or what do I want to change? And for some people, it's like the energy, or for better sleep, or for a more tone flexible body, the smoother digestion, easier to digest foods. Those are real key. Just moving more, meditation, the breathing, and the breathing is so much of an effect for calming, for stress and things, and for health issues. And that's becoming such a big thing now, like people like Wim Hof are bringing in all these things that are, breathing is like the elixir of health. He has certain techniques that of the breathing that opens up. I've done it a little bit, and it opens up your mind so much. It's very powerful. In the workbook, it'll have how to make your anchor statement. So it'll show kind of your big why for doing the habits, and that'll help to kind of fill that out. And I'll fill it out again for myself and post it like in the group, just so you can see what it looks like. And it's just basically kind of setting that in your mind, what you want to accomplish. And with the habits, it's just kaizening the habits, so it's just a little bit at a time. You don't have to make like a huge change or a big shift in anything. You always just want to do small changes. On habit 1, 2, and 3 are like the core pieces, and so if you got off track, you just kind of go back to 1, 2, and 3 and kind of make sure those are reestablished, and then it kind of pulls the rest of it. But the habit 1 is eating an early, lighter dinner. And when you're starting off, you can either eat just a lighter dinner or just earlier, or doing both. So you could do it either way. You could do earlier. What time do you normally eat dinner, or is it kind of varied?
Well, it sometimes varies, but I usually try to like wrap it up by 7:30.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. The range in here is usually between 6 and 7, whenever you can. We know in the summertime that's a little bit different too, because we have more daylight hours, and so that kind of gets a little flexible. With eating, the lighter, especially in the summertime, it's easier to eat lighter too, because we're looking for more lighter foods just by habit, just by what we feel. The heavier foods, you make you feel like you can't move. So it's really your own choice what you eat. Whenever I teach this as a class, we go more into the Ayurveda cookbook as well. And it kind of, so you can kind of start to explore some of those foods. And since you're from India, you're probably already familiar with a certain level of that, even without even being in this, just by the nature of heritage wise, it should be fairly similar. The Ayurveda is how it integrates so easily into your life and into anything that you do, whether it's the food or the exercising, or when you do interact with a doctor or anything like that. You don't have to do one or the other. You integrate and apply what you feel and what they feel is appropriate. When you eating the earlier, lighter dinner, it's just what to do is eat your last meal of the day between 6 or 7 p.m. or at least 3 hours before bedtime. For dinner, you can choose soups, salads over solid foods, because food with more water content is easier to digest. Eat more green and non-starchy root vegetables, fewer grains, legumes, meat, and dairy. After dinner, close your kitchen and don't snack. So you're going to kind of let yourself have that gradual feel toward light emptiness, but not like starving or anything. So it's just kind of, you want to go to bed with that lighter feeling in the stomach. And that's what helps you with that third habit of start the day right. And when you start off, you could just do it like 1 or 2 days or a certain number of days. You don't have to do all 7 days the same, just like in the summer, we do things and we're out late or something, or you're up late because you're studying, anything like that where you have to be up late. It's not going to hurt anything. And then why you want to do this, dinner should be supplemental, a little extra, not the main event. You'll wake up feeling lighter, energized, and the next day when you keep dinner supplemental, you'll make your body's job easier. You'll have fewer aches and pains as you age, and you won't get fat, tired, and overwhelmed. And there's a big payoff for eating a smaller meal. For some people, where it doesn't feel like it's substantial enough, just adding more healthy fat in whatever you're having helps to sustain a little bit more. And even if you do snack, like I said, it's the same thing. You don't have to stick with that every day to start with it. You're just experimenting and see what fits for you, what works for you best. About the Agni, which is the digestive system, and the Ama, which is things that are not digested, whether it's food or mental or other things in the body. And that's where a lot of the health problems stem from having that poor digestion or not a strong enough digestive system. The time frame that they go on is the dosha clock. So between 10 and 2 is the time when the digestive fire is the strongest. So that's always the best time, and that's why the lunchtime is usually encouraged to be the bigger meal, because that's when it's the strongest to handle that. And in the book, it also gives you kind of some ideas of things that you could fix for dinner. Just different types of salads and minestrone soup, miso soups, roasted sweet potatoes or Brussels sprouts, and for some people they like to do the fermented foods, and for some people that's a good choice. And another thing that's in the weekly or in the workbook, or what you could do digitally, is doing a weekly meal plan. So it kind of sets the time frame of when you're eating and what you're eating. It doesn't have to be exact, and you don't have to stick to it like hardcore. It just kind of helps to plan it. If sometimes that structure is a little bit easier to try to adapt to something a little bit new. One of the things that I want you to do too is just kind of, whenever you eat, if you eat something heavier or if you eat late, notice how your body feels afterwards, and then also the next day, and compare that to one of the times where you've eaten light and at a earlier time, and see if that, just notice what sensations and the difference of feeling sluggish versus feeling active, or feeling clear versus feeling like cloudy and just kind of dull. And that's the one that the habit that you could work on this week, and like I said, if you could get the book at any time, or you don't have to, it's no big deal. And a lot of the libraries are carrying it now. That's how I even started off, was just getting it from the library. I think she's got it down pretty reasonable on digital too, digital and the book itself. So there's a couple of options there. On habit 2, it's go to bed early. And again, because it's summertime, sometimes you're gonna be up late, but it's usually the time frame what you're looking for most people, it's between 9 and 10. Try to get the full 7 or 8 hours of sleep that you can, because that's gonna help you start that day right. You're not taking from the next day's energy. Anytime you're up past 10, you're starting to pull from the next day's energy. So it starts to have that negative effect on you. And that's sometimes all that's affected people health-wise, is just they've been going to bed, or they're night owls and they stay up really late. And it's like that centrifugal force of just feeling more dragged down and having more sleep issues. And there's so many people with sleep issues now. So it's kind of it's a nice way to start to recognize the rhythm. It used to be, if you think about it, people would go to bed when it was dark, no lighting. So they were more in tune with nature and with the timing and the seasons and everything. And with all of our electronics and lighting and all the stuff, it makes it so easy for us to not be able to tune into the rhythm. And that's another part of it too. With the electronics, if you want to have like a cutoff time, you know, where you don't pick up you don't mess with the phone or work on the computer or look at the TV, it helps you with that winding down. You just want to kind of naturally progress towards winding down in the evening. It's a good time for, you know, little activities around the house or going out walking or, you know, being with friends or with family at family time. But just allow yourself to kind of naturally notice and feel that getting tired. And I'm just going to read a little bit on the what to do for habit 2. Enhance your bedtime routine with nurturing habits that would wind you down. Land yourself in bed with lights out by 10. If you have fatigue, disease, or immune issues, and your nerves need more juice, aim for a 9 p.m. bedtime. Wind your bedtime routine back by 15 minutes per week or an hour per month. So if you're going to bed 10 or 11 or 12, you're just by 15-minute increments, you're just kind of backing it up a little bit at a time rather than all at once going from like midnight to 9. It needs to be kind of a smooth transition for your body. And even night owls thrive when they become morning doves. So there's a little bit more of a challenge for night owls, but it is doable. It's just that work that they do themselves towards feeling better. And why you want to do this, energetically, you want to start most of your tomorrows on a full tank of gas. If you go to bed after 10, you're spending tomorrow's fuel today, meaning you're running a deficit. By going to bed earlier, you can rise earlier and witness the glory of dawn. Yeah, and this is where it actually talks a little bit about the dosha clock. And I'm working on a short Ayurveda video, and it'll have that dosha clock in there and tell a little bit about that. So it has that, you know, the 10 and 2 a.m. and 2 and 6. And it tells you a little bit about those doshas and the elements that are related. If you're not as familiar with it, it takes a little bit to start to feel comfortable with that. Because when I first came into it, I didn't understand it very well. But the more you apply it, it starts to make a lot more sense. And one of the big things about that bedtime is basically you're rebuilding the integrity of your immune system. So if you're already pretty healthy, it's just keeping that integrity. If for anyone that's kind of depleted in any form, it'll start to rebuild it and start to make them feel quite a bit better. There'll be less and less deficits, you know, on affecting their body and their health. It talks a little bit about some breathing techniques and things for like when you're winding down. You know, how just even something simple, just like breathing in and a longer breath out. A longer breath out is really good for just releasing kind of the day, you're releasing stress, and you can do it at any time, but in the evening, it's kind of nice. Just kind of, I'm releasing the day and breathe it out. And you could do it, you know, 3 or 4 times, or you could do it for a period of time. And some people do light exercise in the evening. It's not usually something, I know some people that are very active have a different level of what they do, but for most of us, just like light exercise, walking, evening yoga, restorative yoga, stretching. I mean, there's just simple things that you can do that doesn't overactivate the body and the mind before you go to bed. And that's that second habit, you can focus more on it that second week. Because these calls, I'm just doing 2 habits at a time during a call for the free one. Whenever I teach the class, we do 1 habit per week, and we have calls specific to a habit, and then like a Q&A call too, so that we can cover things. But it's when you see some of the information, when you see the workbook, you can always ask me questions too at any time, whether it's, you know, in the meetup group, if you're in the Facebook group, and I'm on Messenger on Facebook too. So there's a few different options there. In email, I mean, those are all, I don't mind any of it, especially if you're not sure about something or about how to adjust a habit. I can always guide you a little bit on, and some of the worksheets actually help guide you through those things too. So I can even point out a certain worksheet that'll help. Just to experiment with it. Don't take any of it real serious, you know, just kind of just experiment and try those things with the earlier, lighter dinner and earlier to bed. And even if you just, like I said, do it 3 or even 5 days. And if, you know, a few nights you have to stay up or you have to eat later just because of events going on or things that you're doing with friends or family. And then just kind of let me know, you know, some of your experiences too. I mean, as the group gets more active in Facebook or in Meetup, then we can talk more, you know, together. I am going to do another call in the Ayurveda after I put that video out, because that I feel like the more you start to understand it, it applies, you realize how much it applies. Do you have any questions, or is there anything that I can, that may help you more with it, or with you know, if there's some, I might even take a few pictures just out of the book and post it on the group, because that can help a little bit too.
I've been like struggling going to bed early, because it just seems like my brain doesn't want to like shut up, and I'm like, I don't want to think about these things, but I think about like no matter what. So I don't know, like I don't know how to like achieve that, but I know that I'm wanting to achieve that.
Yeah, it's common for a lot of people. I mean, especially if you're in college or, you know, with a stressful job or any of those things, or family issues. You know, it's the stuff you're trying to process it. Some of the things that you can try is kind of figure out what works for you to release it. So whether you journal or, you know, either by writing or even audio, kind of going outside and connecting with nature, even whether it's a walk or just going outside underneath a tree or something, or by water, and just kind of, you can kind of guide your own mind to release. So I'm done for today. Everything's fine. I'm just going to kind of release it and let it go. I can deal with the rest of it tomorrow. But find what works best for you, because everybody's different on how they need to release, but you have to release it some way so it's not keeping you up all night. I mean, it's easy to do that, but and that's what I mean by experiment. You know, spend one evening trying like journaling and just write freely, whatever's on your mind, write it out. If you don't want to keep it, just, you know, tear it up and throw it away. You don't have to keep it, especially if you don't want anybody reading it, or it's just, you know, you don't want it as trash laying around or anything. But the whole idea is just to get it out. Just to kind of, it's that acknowledgement and that awareness, and just say, okay, this is enough. This is it for today. I don't need to process this anymore today. And just play around with that and see.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you for being with me today. I appreciate it.